standing here?
Ah, hello. How are you?
I'm just taking some wild footage so I can cut in an intro. Just go straight in. You crazy. Listen, thanks a lot for sitting in on this. Thanks for the interview. That was really, really great. I hope it didn't get too personal at any point. I hope that was okay.
Yes, it was great. Are we wrong?
Yep.
Oh, right.
I hope that was okay. It was all right?
No, yeah, fine. Yeah. I hope you're okay.
Yeah,
you nearly choked and died. I mean,
I'm sorry about that. That was that fly.
Yeah, it was it was going that whole time until it went into your mouth. And then...
I'm just hoping it didn't turn up on the mic.
Did you cough it back up? Or is
I don't know. You know what? I don't know where it is right now. But but I'm so
it's good
sorry
that you survived.
Yeah,
anyway.
I might cut that out. But listen, this is a bit old-fashioned. But at the end of interviews with people that we think are really awesome and that we like, we like to give them a little gift. Would you accept a small gift from us as a token of appreciation?
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
It's really lovely of you.
You're welcome. Well, we just think you're great, and because you're doing so many other things.
He's very old-fashioned.
Yeah. Well, is that sexist now?
No,
is that out of line?
I mean, I wish more men gave me flowers. Frankly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm surprised that doesn't happen. That is a crime. That is a horrible oversight.
It is a crime.
On behalf of my gender. Now, listen, we were talking earlier when your mum was here about the perceptions of time, and I just wanted to quickly make the point. What year were you born in?
1987.
Right. That means you were born 1 year after I interviewed your father for the first time.
Really?
And if that doesn't make me feel as old as Methuselah, but yet...
What?
Sorry?
What was the film? Why were you interviewing?
It was for FX.
Oh, it was for FX.
FX.
And I remember that film so well. I watched that so many times.
And as you mentioned earlier about how you familiarise yourself with your father's films, but I just wanted to make the point that because we were talking about perceptions of time, although that you feel really old, sitting here talking to you and you having already spoken about what you want to do as a director.
Yes.
And as an actress.
Yes.
It kind of makes me feel glad that I'm old because you can kind of see the future. But it is remarkable that it was a year off before you were born when I spoke to you there.
Wow. Have you interviewed him since?
I interviewed him recently for when Beautiful Kate was out.
Oh, right. Okay.
We had a good talk.
Not a bad dude.
Yes.
Is that... Oh, did you just swallow the...
I'm so sorry.
Did you just swallow the fly?
Oh, God, that's...
Oh, my... Did you...
I'm okay. I'm so sorry about that. I'm so sorry. Oh, that was so embarrassing. I apologise. So sorry. I might cut that out.
Sip of water?
Yeah, it might be good.
Yeah, I might wash it down.
Yeah, I might cut that out or leave it in. What do you're a director. Should I leave it in or cut it out? I think
for the audio, I think it's pretty entertaining. I mean, they didn't see it, but he just swallowed a fly.
No, they'll sure as hell hear it. Now, Bryan Brown is one of the foundation slabs of the Australian film industry. Matilda, you probably get asked this a million times, but I just wanted to know, with your dad, having spoken about your mum, with your father, when did you realise the volume that he occupies in the story of Australian cinema?
That is a very interesting question. And I do have a very vivid memory of laying in my bed one day. I think I must have been about maybe 8 or 9 when I thought, wow, people really know who my dad is. and it's funny because I grew up knowing that. I grew up knowing that people were aware of who my parents were, like strangers, like they stop them on the street and say, can I have a photo? So it does become sort of a normalcy in your life. But you don't really understand it. There's things you don't understand as a kid that don't make any sense to you until suddenly you understand them, So it was I don't know how it, affected me at that point in time, but I just remember thinking how strange that my dad is very well known. It's a weird thing. Can't really explain it.
And what about the films that he made? Because he's made so many great ones.
Yeah.
He's made a couple of turkeys too, which I've interviewed him about. And he knows that and he's aware of them.
That's so funny. Which ones?
Yeah. Oh, well, he made a film called Dear Claudia that we almost gave the blows over, but that's another story.
Love that you call them turkeys. That's so good.
But I mean, like, when did you start seeing his films? Were they...
I watched my favourite film that he's in of all time is The Shirley.
Oh my God!
And it's
a brilliant miniseries.
It's so good, and I have watched that a lot of times over the years, and that film was sort of strange to me because it was the first time I sort of understood that films weren't real, because when you're young, like we were just talking about, not understanding things when you're a kid, but then there comes a certain point. I remember sort of sitting there and he was sitting next to me and I was watching the film and I was thinking, well, if he's on that and he's sitting next to me, then that must not be real. And that was the first time I sort of could understand that film and TV wasn't happening. It was made up. But the other thing about that film is that he has a daughter in it. And I would get so jealous of their relationship. I would sit there and cry and go, you love her more than me. Of course,
And have you seen them all?
No, of course not.
Okay. So
No, I've seen a great many. I love Gorillas in the Mist. I love Two Hands. I love Dirty Deeds. I love, The Shirley. I loved FX when I was growing up. I love Along Came Polly. Yeah. I haven't seen Taipan. I love the one where he's in the jail and there's a riot.
Oh, Stir.
Yeah, Stir. I love Stir. I thought that was a great film.
Again, I'm sorry. I'm just very quickly.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea when those films were coming out? That was the rebirth of Australian cinema.
Yeah.
That film.
Was it the rebirth or was it the birth?
Well, we call it the Renaissance because we did have a film industry a long time ago before basically it crashed and burned because the American companies came in and bought it up. It's a complex and tragic history.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was just like Breaker Morant. The first time you saw that, how did you react?
Oh yeah, it's so hard. It's the amount of times my dad has died on screen, and what you watch those things when you're a little girl, 9 years or 10 years old, and you see your dad get shot, violently. It is seriously upsetting because once again you don't understand it. And but no, that's an amazing film, and going back and revisiting those Australian films is such a treat, and I should do it more often.
And just before we get on to your father, I just have to ask you about your mum, who was, again, I really want to know when you first became aware of how huge she was. When she was in Sharky's Machine, the images of her in Sharky's Machine weren't just for the film. They became iconic. Look, your mum was one of the hottest women on earth, starring in the Thorn Birds, obviously, and in a movie by the biggest star in the world, Burt Reynolds.
Yeah.
When did you become aware of her place in film?
Probably actually not until a couple of years ago, because her career was sort of really established long before I was born, like my dad, but in a different way to my dad, being he's an Australian. When she was here and when we were younger, she wasn't really working because she was working so much more when she was living in Hollywood. And when she was here and we were growing up, she went back to university and she started to, slowly become a director. So, it really wasn't until we took a trip to LA a couple of, years ago, and we were driving down Sunset Boulevard and she goes, I used to be on that poster. She said, I remember driving down Sunset Boulevard and seeing myself on that poster and having this moment of hating myself. That's what she said. And I've seen those images, and she's mental.
The image of her in the dress, looking over her shoulder.
Yeah, and those ones, and the ones where not just Sharky's Machine and the Thorn Birds, but Against All Odds.
Yes, absolutely.
Which I look back on photos of my mum, and she's mind-blowingly beautiful. Which she would never admit to. She just really doesn't. She has whatever she can tell you about that. But
now, when are we going to start seeing films by you?
Well, you can see a TV show by me on Presto.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
which I'm just about to start shooting the second series of. That's called Let's Talk About.
Yes.
Films, I'm getting there.
Yeah.
I'm not there yet. I really want to wait until I find the story that I really want to tell, because it's not something that I.
Because Am I Okay
Yes.
is actually, as far as I'm concerned, the opening scene of a feature film.
Oh, really?
Well, that's how it struck me.
Oh, wow.
You've done,
I like that you've seen that.
well, you've done also these beautiful short films. Lessons from the Grave.
Yeah.
Wonderful little cinematic squibs.
Yeah. Oh, thanks.
Very, very nicely done.
Yeah.
But at the same time, frustrating because they're so short.
Right.
And because you obviously have, and I'm not blowing any sunshine up your skirt, you obviously have a talent for camera placement, for editing, for mood.
Thank you.
So you're welcome. But why have you stuck so determinedly to the short film format?
And I'll admit this, I'm probably a little bit impatient. I like it takes such a long time to make something, and the satisfaction that you get from making a short film, and is it happens quicker. And I will move on to the longer format, but at the moment there's a market out there for it. People are really watching, short things on their phone. They're subscribing to platforms that you can, watch this stuff on. And so for me, I can actually make a living from doing that. And I can continue to, work on my craft and get better and better at it. So by the time I do make a feature film, it'll, blow your socks off.
Well, we certainly look forward to it.
Um,
And why short films and commercials as well? You've done, as I understand, you've done some commercials as well as short films.
Not so many, because I'm not really interested in doing commercial work unless it's creative and it's a completely different world.
Say hello to Bryan for me.
I will. It's
See ya.
lovely to see you, Jim.
No worries. Good to see you too.
Until I'll see you outside, okay?
Yeah.
And you got to go get interviewed by Dennis Walter now, I'm afraid.
I better get cracking.
Yeah. So
I'll let you hang on with Till.
yeah, is that all right?
Too many
Yeah,
people
yeah.
want to
Oh,
talk
That's
yeah.
okay. Yeah.
Come on, Mum.
Yeah, we might ask
good
a few
luck.
personal questions. Now, Rachel, before I go, I do have to ask you to move a little closer to your daughter and to... That's great. Can I just get a comment from you just about this gender matters issue? Gender equality is very, very big in media at the moment, and we've just had this new measure passed whereby certain amount of money is going to be dedicated to films initiated by women.
So Screen Australia, to their absolute fabulous credit, have decided that they need to do something about getting more female practitioners into the industry and getting them working and capitalising on the talent that is, in there. And so 5 million were put aside to, I suppose, for affirmative action, for getting us girls moving. Yeah. So that was all announced last week, and the money was divvied up, and I think about 51 different projects got, or groups of people or producing companies got a bit of a help with development.
Is this an unfortunate but necessary measure to take? Do women really need the leg up?
No, it's definitely yes, we definitely... I mean, you can only see what happened when money was put into Aboriginal filmmaking about 10, 15 years ago, and look what the benefit they have reaped. We've all reaped from giving those opportunities and having those voices on the main stage. And while that's absolutely up and running, and the rest of us can barely get a look in for all the fabulous Aboriginal talent there is out there, thank God, there is also there's a few women out there going, hey, we want something coming our way. We need a bit of help to get to elbow the boys over a little bit. And let's face it, it's a great industry to be part of. No one is going to move over willingly. No one is going to say, oh, I think we've had our turn. Now, girls, it's your turn.
Okay. And Matilda, from a different generational point of view, how do you see such a measure? Do you see it reluctantly, or is it an important thing that they should be doing? Is it
I think
unfortunate?
It's so funny because it is such a different generation. I don't feel like I've grown up in a, with any gender bias. I also feel like the guys and girls are the same.
Of course they are the same.
I know, but I just don't have that. I haven't been exposed to it, I guess, in the same way that you have. So it's hard
and I
for
think
me
when
to...
I first started, I remember there was Women in Film Festival, and I remember thinking, no, we don't need a festival just for us. We need to be able to compete with the boys. We need to be on an equal. The playground needs to be equal. I don't see the reason for it. I don't need to feel that we need that. But I'll tell you, 15 years down the track, or 20 years down the track, how long I've been on the other side of the camera, I've definitely come to feel that something has to shift, and it was not shifting on its own. And it's not really for lack of support from the funding bodies here or the government here. It's really to do with a lot of distribution, exhibition, internationally, what films get an opportunity out there. There's a very few women who can open a film, who, internationally, people will run with your film. You need to make a film here. You need to get overseas distribution. If you don't get that handful of actresses, which are usually the case if you're a female telling female-driven stories, it's all over Red Rover.
It's also a matter of ability as well. If I can just quickly put a post-feminist framing around the issue, women have proved beyond any question that they can do everything that a male can do in every department, including direction. And recently I had the pleasure of speaking with Susanna White, who directed half of Generation Kill. And just as an example, the war that's happening now, women are mainly responsible for the telling of this war in film and television. We've had Generation Kill, we've had Hurt Locker, Zero Dark 30, Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. These are all women behind these movies. So the ability is certainly there. So it seems like a correction is overdue.
Women need to have the belief that they can do it as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, I think that's one.
Do you think self-doubt is an issue?
I think it is. I think, I don't think it necessarily occurs to women sometimes that they can, be a cinematographer or be a director. But, I mean, obviously, anyone with 2 arms and 2 legs and can, or not, can direct a film. It's not a man's job. But women definitely need to, you can't force women to also be part of it. If a woman wants to, be in the film industry, write and tell her story, she should find the belief inside herself to do that.
Now, this is my last question about Otto Bloom before we move on to some other matters. But just finally, were you guys looking for a project to star in together, or was it just happenstance?
No. I mean,
we weren't looking for it.
No. We weren't looking for it at all. And we basically were being very driven by our own projects. And this wonderful opportunity came up where I got a script sent to me, and from my agent, who said, I know you're not interested in being on camera, but this is a really interesting little script. I think it might get your attention. And I read it and loved it. And they said that it is, it's for the director wanted a mother and a daughter combination because he wanted the character to be invested with a
likeness.
With a likeness, a physical likeness, and I guess an emotional.
Well, I guess
likeness,
you just have to believe it. You have to believe that they are the same person.
Yeah,
and there's definitely similarity between us, physically and mannerisms. I mean, really, the only thing that was different is that she has an English accent and I don't, so I had to try and talk in her voice.
Was it hard?
No, it's not that hard. Plus, I don't have that many lines to say. So.
And I cannot do an Australian accent.
Go on, try.
No, because I'll do a really bogan one. That won't be a good sound.
I've never even heard you try.
I'm just keen to know what relationship you guys have with time. How do you spend time? Most people complain about time, about not having enough time, about chasing time, about where's the time gone. About
what, to be together?
No, just in time in general. Do you feel that you've spent your time well? Are you spending your time well? What is your relationship to time?
It's a good question. Are you taking advantage of life?
Yes, I am now. It's taken me actually quite a while to get there. I've been one of those slight, not tail chasers, but thinking I haven't accomplished enough in the time that I've been given, and been sort of very driven. And lately I've gone, I'm having it so good. There's not many people who are gifted in the kind of life that I've been given, and the health of my family, and there's just been and just the opportunities I've had, and moving to Australia, and there comes a point when you just want to bask in this wonderful life, the opportunities that you've been given. And sometimes you have to smack yourself and go, yes, it is time to take account and just to enjoy it and smell the roses.
You must be reflecting on what she said. She's basically
I
saying...
am, because she also, it is hard to sort of see that's... I've seen you do that over the years. And, I look around at the life that you and Dad have created, and I know that we're very lucky, and I know that it's a beautiful life, and I love that you're now taking this time to actually be at peace with where you are, in your career, and, being in your life. And I love that she says she's going off on another horse riding adventure in... Where are you going?
I'm going to Africa.
Yeah, in Africa. And also, Mum is she's really not spoiled, and she does struggle with this sort of the guilt of having a nice life that, I'm sure lots of people in, affluent positions do sometimes. And because, she's empathetic and cares a lot about people who are, underprivileged, hence why she does a lot of mentoring for young people who are underprivileged. And so I'm glad that you've let that go a little bit, Mum, and you're just enjoying your time.
Anybody ever needed a reason to have a daughter, that was was confirmation of it.
And Matilda,
Thank you,
what's your approach to time? Are you spending it well? Are you troubled by how little time you have? Are you working out how to divide your time? Because later on we're going to be talking about your work as a director as well. But,
yes.
And you do act as well.
Uh-huh.
Are you figuring out how best to use your time, to divide your time between different pursuits?
I sort of had this, when I turned 25, I sort of had this quarter life crisis, where I sort of felt like I just didn't know who I was in the world. Those existential crises that you have, which actually I made Am I Okay about that whole sort of time of my life.
We'll mention that later, because I reckon you should turn that into a feature film, but we'll get onto that later.
Okay, cool. But no, I feel like, when you go through that and you come out, I'm 29 now, and I feel like I've come out into this clearness of, I guess, just being sort of okay with where I'm at in my life at this point in time. There was a time where you can look around at other people who are in the industry who are, doing better than you are or further ahead than you are. And it's just such a not a nice way to live your life, just comparing yourself to people around you. And really just, I guess when I worked out that my self-worth doesn't come from all that stuff around me, it really just, it comes from inside me. It makes everything feel a little bit less frantic and needing to check off all these things along the way. I'm quite happy.
Now, what do you guys think the film says about time? What's the film's take-home message about time?
I think the main thing that he talks about is that time. He does this. There's a part in the film where he does this speech to lots of people at the end. And he talks about how we shouldn't fear death because death isn't real. And I guess the idea of that and, Einstein's sort of time and space theory is that at every moment, these moments are happening again and again and again in time. Somewhere in time, this moment is forever. So it's a nice, it is a beautiful way to think of life that, then it's not just, oh, that's gone now, that moment. It's actually somewhere in time, floating around. I mean, Google Einstein's theory, he'll tell you.
Yeah, and I think it was I love the way it was born of a death that was very close to Chris, and he was having problems dealing with that. And I think so he wanted to, he was thinking about this idea of time and this time that he'd had with this person who was very close, and it gave him enormous comfort to feel that actually that time had yet to come. Why did it have to be in the past? Why could it not be in the future? So it's just a way of experiencing time.
What do you guys both think of the film?
She hasn't seen it.
I haven't seen it yet.
Really?
Well, it's MIF. It's MIF, so it's a film festival. So
Yeah.
it's only just finished being made.
But that's not really why you haven't seen it.
Yes. Well, I'm going to probably. I have decided I'm going to see it tonight, but I
Doesn't
don't
really
really
like
like
watching
watching myself on. That's why I like being behind camera. I'd much rather.
When
feel
did
much
that
more
kick in
comfortable.
that you didn't like?
Oh,
seeing
I
it?
think you'll find that it happens with a lot of people. They're not comfortable watching themselves, and
It's a nice way of avoiding the question. When did you? when did you start?
I think I just
reacting
wanted the.
badly?
Oh, I think I've never enjoyed it. Never enjoyed watching myself on screen. I mean, I can read my writing over and over again, and I can watch my films over and again, and I really enjoy it. But watching myself on camera, no, it's not something I enjoy.
She nitpicks. She'll find the one thing that's
Well, on behalf of
not
all
flawless
the
and
on
pick
behalf
at
of
it.
all the 18-year-old boys who grew up with a lot of your films, we never had a problem with that.
Oh well,
so
that's good. I'd rather leave it at that.
that's fair enough. And Matilda, what did you think of the film?
I love the film. I said to Chris after I watched it, I said, because I watched it on a private link, in my bedroom, because I wanted to watch it before I saw it in front of a whole load of people. I watched it and I watched it the whole way through and I really enjoyed it, and that doesn't really happen. So usually watch a film on my own and pause halfway through, go and make a cup of tea, and it's a beautiful film. It's moving and it's so clever and so creative, and just in the way that he's pieced all of this.
Yeah, he's
so
a major new
documentary
talent.
together.
He's a major new talent in our industry, no question. He's an absolute auteur. He's a total original, and the most delightful man to boot.
Okay. Can I just get either one of you to, in as concise a manner as possible, describe the film, like 25 words or less? How would you describe this film
Well,
to
Otto
someone?
Bloom is a story of an extraordinary man who experiences life in reverse.
Experiences time in reverse.
But sorry,
he's going in the
experiences
opposite
time in
direction to
reverse.
everybody
Yeah.
else through time.
And you have a lovely way of describing the relationship, the love story.
Well, I guess just because he falls in love with his neuropsychologist, Ada
Fitzgerald,
played by Mum and I. And so when he meets her, he already knows everything about their relationship. She knows nothing about him. Obviously, he's a stranger. But the further along that they get into their relationship, the more she knows about him, the less he knows about her, because they're passing each other in time. So they have this beautiful sort of small window where they can enjoy their relationship before it's doomed, because they're passing each other in time.
Rachel Ward, Matilda Brown, welcome.
Oh,
Welcome.
thank you.
What's that?
What's it? Is there a fly in it?
Yes.
Oh, it's
You nearly-
okay.
you nearly
No,
got
it's-
it.
Throw it
got
Jim's
away.
way.
No,
Throw it
it's
Jim's way.
what, this
And
is
it's just
what-
landed on your
mosquito-
nose.
Oh, what? There's a fly.
It's
Oh,
going to
well,
annoy us.
don't worry. As long as you can't hear it on the microphone, I think we should be okay.
No, it's gone over there
I got
anyway.
to remember to bring some fly spray in next time.
Oh, poor little
Anyway, welcome, and
Thank you for having us.
let's have a fun interview.
Great. Looking forward to it. It's great to see you again.
Thank you.